hell is... Oh, he's just bought a motorbike.
Can you tell? Can you tell?
He's just bought a 700cc motorbike.
Hard as nails.
Covering tattoos.
He's just been to... Where was the pub you went to?
Steel Horse Cafe. It's a cafe, not a pub. Right? Anyway, that.
Not being able to speak is not the same as not speaking. You seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are. What the hell did you just say?
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still.
Anybody who has some knowledge of Kung Fu can easily defeat you.
And Steve Newby.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
If you flash him, even for an instant, a defiant eye, he'll pluck it out. And if you throw any American sass his way, he'll snap your back and your neck like they were twigs.
So, before we start officially, duly noted, sir. Duly noted. Have you done any show prep? What?
Yeah, I listened to what you had to say.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Right. Anywho, we must press on. Guys, welcome to the Kung Fu Podcast episode. What episode are we on? Do you know? Are you bothered?
I think it's 31.
Oh! Give that man a coconut. Yes, it's 31. Episode 31. If I ever mind. So, what have you been up to? Been up to much? What's that? Is that ice hockey?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a nice hat anyway. I like the logo. That's cool. That's cool. What have you been up to since we last spoke? Have you been prepping yourself for the? Have you been prepping your teaching segment for the online live Laugar Meet the Masters Zoom session tomorrow morning?
Oh, is that when it is?
You mean you don't know? I thought you were part of it.
Well, I didn't really get in touch.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll brush that off.
I was on the beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We went to the beach last night till about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
All you could hear was people's speedboats going by with the loud music.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Is that like a bit like chavs with their boom boxes in the Renault Clios?
Except they got boats.
Except they got boats. Is there can you tell what the crap boats are and the good boats? Have they got? Are people putting do people put body kits on boats?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And the jet skis.
There you go.
Yeah, just see the jet skis going across.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, spot on. Cool. So you just been laying about on the beach? Have you been practicing any kind of?
I just was watching the kids. They were in the pool, in the water, jumping about, and I just sat there and thought, nice place to be, really.
I bet you were thinking, oh, wish I was 20.
Yeah. No, I wish that. I always think that anyway.
Oh, okay.
I've never got over 18.
Well, yeah.
But now it was just looking at it and all. It's a really nice place to be. Nice that time of night. Nice, nice weather.
Good.
Nice views.
Great. Yay, Canada. Amazing. Okay. Right.
You're coming over, aren't you?
Eventually, yeah. Once this, once things,
COVID is over.
Yeah, well, it won't be over, is it? Until they can find a vaccine or something, But they ain't testing it on me. Jesus. Jeez. Okay, right then. Anything Kung Fu related happened to you in the last week or two?
Well, I went to watch the Pacific Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
Which was interesting. It was only beginner's class and that, and it was quite nice to watch people training,
Right. So you watched Jiu-Jitsu, was it?
Huh?
So what were you watching them do? Just
Well, it actually wasn't there was some people doing the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the one gym, in the one side of the complex.
Yeah.
And then the one I was watching was the Thai boxing.
Okay.
A friend of mine, Adolfo, was teaching it. Actually, it's the first time I saw him teaching. He was really, he was a nice teacher. He really sort of, you could see that he cared for people that he was teaching. And they were beginners. He didn't know them, but he would see them doing something and he'd just go over and that and correct them and everything and using pads and stuff.
Did he?
So yeah, it was quite nice to watch actually.
Oh,
it was nice to be part of it and just get into it. But obviously it's down to, there's nothing happening right now because of COVID. They only had about 12 people in themselves. And obviously as it starts to open up again, hopefully we'll get like a class on a Saturday. But it totally depends on how everything works out.
Right.
So
yeah. Well,
no promises there. But there will be teaching and I will be doing some more.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think the like classes now kind of really, in short supply. It's more like gatherings, informal gatherings. That's what we'll call it, because
what Adolfo says is when he does his jiu-jitsu, he gets down by the lake.
Yeah.
And he says he's doing some stuff with some private students, and then just across the way, there's a guy doing karate. They're all down there on the beach doing their different classes.
Oh,
yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
We open up on tomorrow night back again, so I've looking forward to that. Got a few people coming. Got an old student of ours from years ago, of yours, rather.
You just went still.
Did I? Because it says on my screen, your internet connection is unstable.
Is that mine or yours?
No, I think
it's yours.
It's mine. I think it says mine.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Let me get rid of Facebook. Yeah, that might help. There you go. Yeah, so I've got, I'm reopening the class tomorrow night. So,
excellent.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Why don't you introduce the podcast?
Okay, I'll introduce the podcast. Guys, welcome to...
Because you haven't yet.
I have not. Welcome to the Kung Fu Podcast, episode 21. My name's James Still. And I'm joined as ever with my teacher, Mr. Steve Newby, live from Canada.
That's me.
That's you. How you doing? Hey, we're starting. Are we actually going now? We were just chatting a bit. We were
let's go.
Chewing the fat. We were chewing the fat. So I tell you what I wanted to bring up with you. I've been writing down some stuff. But before I get to that, I wanted to ask your opinion on something, because I was having a chat to one of our mutual friends the other day about videos on YouTube, on Facebook and whatnot. And he was saying how he doesn't really want to put videos of him doing stuff out there because of what he does. He doesn't want to give away sort of secrets that he feels that other competitors might, be able to capitalize on, etc. And I was writing down this thing, and I wrote down. This is what I thought in my head, right? I thought it ain't so. Before I say that, it's like, like the old masters in Kung Fu. Oh, I don't want to give away the secrets. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's like what do they call it? Closed door students and stuff like that. Like, stop the secrets. So I just wrote something down the other day, and I came in my head. I put, it ain't your information, so pass it on. So what I meant by that was there should be no secrets in martial arts. So, like, it's not your information, it's not my information, it's just information. It's what should be out there in the public domain. It should be, proliferated, taught, and acknowledged. So, I don't believe in secrets.
Well, there are three secrets, James.
Oh, go on then, enlighten everybody.
To train hard.
So that's number one.
Train harder still.
That's number two. Yeah. And everyone's got to guess what number three is, right?
Train even harder.
Well, there you go, right? So those are the only secrets we condone. But going back on topic, what do you think about that? Like, it's not your information. What do you think?
No, I know exactly, what you're saying. And it used to, when I was brought up, with the Kung Fu, obviously, I sort of treat it like a life, because effectively it has been a life. That kind of attitude was always prolific, always like you didn't want to teach anybody, or you didn't want to put anything out. Master Yao, same thing, didn't want to write a book, didn't want to do any videos, just felt that if you want to train, then you've got to come to the class to train.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing in today's world with all this, social media, of course, is you've got so many different martial arts in the and what's kind of loosely termed as martial arts on YouTube and whatever, is that if you're not in it, unfortunately, you're just going to not be known.
Yeah.
There are so many people out there actually haven't got any skill whatsoever or any knowledge whatsoever, who because they're on YouTube, it kind of builds them up to be some kind of master or expert on the field. Jake Mace comes to mind. Sorry, Jake.
We love you, Jake. We love you.
We do love Jake because he's so amusing, and he throws himself out like he's some kind of expert. But everything he does, I mean, quite obviously, when you look at it, it is complete and utter junk, and absolutely doesn't make any logical or scientific sense what he does. But he does it. And he's got a following for it.
Oh, he's got. I don't know with him though. We've said it before, so we won't hark on. But you don't know if it's people like being voyeuristic, going, "Oh, I wonder what he's up to this week," and then sort of going, "You idiot!"
It's people like us going, "You idiot!"
Exactly. We're adding to it.
We add to his viewership and build up his numbers, and he gets money for it, no doubt. But at the end of the day, just talking about that kind of approach, it's just so prolific on YouTube we talked about one the other week, didn't we? There was on a video that pretended to be talking to a Chinese guy, and turns out to be a Chinese guy who can speak perfect English.
But the thing that, but you're right. If you've got to be in it in the first place, like if you're not,
I had the same attitude. I just thought, no, I'm not going to put anything on video, and that's why you don't see anything of mine, really. I've got very few photos, very few videos.
Yeah, but you entered martial arts, obviously, back way when there was,
No, there were no
internet.
They did have cameras, James. They did have cameras.
Did they have flushing toilets, or did you have to go in the back garden, But... it's that
in my house, back garden toilet, but that's another story. Yeah,
but it's like obviously that sort of bears on you because that's the world in which you grew up in, and and I think that attitude, I just think, just has to evolve. And it's not that I don't disagree with the old school sort of attitude of it. I think there's something kind of romantic about it, but. Yeah. At the same time, I just think it serves no purpose in today's modern world.
That's exactly where I'm getting at. This kind of attitude, I did agree with it and everything, but now you come to realise that those people, again, talking about people like Jake, who, in the end, they're not making martial arts popular. They're making it an embarrassment for a lot of people, which is why these full contact and MMA and all that are so popular, because when they look at people throwing themselves around and stupid light weapons and absolutely no knowledge whatsoever, and you can see straight through them. It's obvious to them that, you know, let's face it, you punch a pad, you punch a bag, you know it's going to hurt. You throw a weapon around that's made of balsa wood or a flimsy sword, you know damn well it's not going to hurt, and you're not going to have a great deal of time to play with it. It's, you know.
Yeah.
So if you're going to throw a weapon around, throw a bloody real one around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't bother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's pointless. Pointless.
Hey, boom. You're on a roll. You're on a roll, old man. Yeah. No. So. Okay. Well, how interesting. How interesting. Right. So.
Yeah.
What do you think? If you had to sort of encapsulate. Oh, hang on. Should we go to a commercial break? We interrupt this program for a commercial break. Anyway,
wait a minute. That's not the time. You need an hour at least.
Excuse me. Right. Okay. Whatever. Sorry. I've, you know. Anyway. Right. Basics. Basics of kung fu.
That was a hint of sarcasm. That was.
It was just a bit. Sorry, I was being a bitchy. I was being bitch. If you could encapsulate, right?
Yeah.
The basics of kung fu. I mean, the basics. And now this is going to be a tough one. This is where you're going to earn your pay here. What would you say they are? Not pertaining to Lao, because we're talking about all kung fu, and we're talking about kung fu. So if you had to encapsulate, in your experience, the basics of kung fu, what would you say they are?
You've got to have a body that's capable of, you know, being used to the end it's meant to be used. In other words, it is primarily self-defense for me. It's always going to be the self-defense principle. It's always going to be that. Okay. Of course, the benefits of training, and like any kind of subject, whatever subject it is a kind of enlightenment, if you like, understanding of the world around it. You know, if you're involved in poetry or whatever, and you write poetry, you're going to appreciate other people's poetry as long as it makes sense, and you're going to criticize poetry that is pretty much useless. Okay, and then people come out with different poetry that actually doesn't rhyme, or it doesn't make sense, or it isn't timed. You know, lots of things. I know I'm talking off there, but it's right. The same thing with martial arts.
I can decode it. You know, I can crack the code. You know, don't
worry.
Well,
I'll just decode it for you. It's just basically, you know, it's martial arts for me is about self-defense.
Right.
And anything beyond that is a bonus. But if it hasn't got that primary objective, or it hasn't got the primary ability, it's not a martial art. End of story.
Okay, so if we're talking about, I was hoping you were going to sort of maybe go the obvious route and talk about sort of physical techniques being basics, but you've gone straight to the sort of you know.
Well, it's just a definition of martial arts for me.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
so you think that people need to define what they're doing first, and understand why they're doing it.
Find that whatever technique they train works.
Right.
But they need to train it to a point where it will work, and they need to train their bodies where they're able to work it.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it. If you try to do things and your body's not capable of it, then you're only just going to hurt yourself, and you most certainly won't, you know, show anyone that it does work. So, you know, first of all, of course, you've got to train your body to, you know, take, you know, punishment and absorb punishment, and to give punishment.
Well, take punishment, that's kind of relative, isn't it? Because if you're a small person, you're never going to take the same punishment as a big person would.
No, you're not, but you've got to take it relative to your size, you know.
But what exactly does that mean? How does that, can you explain that for the small person listening?
Okay, well, they need to... everybody has to approach, but that's a good point that you made, because everybody has to approach martial arts differently, even if it's the same style. And that's why it's so important that the style is open to everyone. In other words, if you talk about a style that's based on power, then of course that small person isn't going to stand a chance. But as soon as you talk about a scientific principle, then that small person is going to be able to use that scientific principle to their advantage. Now, if someone big is throwing a punch at them, they're not going to absorb that amount of power, but they're going to be capable of accepting the power, but not, if you understand what I'm saying, they're not going to be there when the whole power arrives. They're going to absorb, they're going to swallow, they're going to move, they're going to divert, and so on. But they've got to be capable of, I guess, understanding what's coming at them. Do you get that?
Yeah, I get that, but don't forget, if you can elaborate on what you've just said, that'll be better for our listeners. All two of them.
A lot of small people, they want to be able to do martial arts, right? And they always...
I think mostly it's small people.
Yeah, because let's face it, everybody, always sees the big guy as the aggressor and so on. It's not always the case, but they want to be able to meet power, no matter how big it is, with their, with whatever they can muster. The thing is, it's not about meeting the power. When I say absorbing the power, I don't mean them standing there and taking a punch. I'm talking about understanding where that power is coming from and either redirecting that power or moving to such a point in time where that power is nullified.
Right.
So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I
a
understand
person wanting to dominate isn't able to dominate a moving object or a moving target, which can then, obviously, certainly to a point can sustain certain injury, but it's got to train. People have got to train to take that kind of a certain amount of injury. Yeah. And I don't think it's physical necessarily. I think sometimes it's just about attitude, right?
Well, I sorry to break your flow, but
no, it's okay.
Earlier on, I just thought to myself, I was looking in the mirror, as you do, and think, you let yourself go a bit, Jim Bob. So
I would agree with that. I would agree.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for that. So I was thinking, you don't have to be an athlete to be a martial artist. So that's kind of a myth that you have to be an athlete to athletic. Certainly to be. Well, exactly right. He was fit. He was just big boned. But amazing, like absolutely amazing. Sammo Hung was. I absolutely
But he trained when he was younger.
Oh, 100%, 100%. He trained, and that paid dividends to even now. I think Sammo Hung is great. But the point is, I would argue that he wasn't an athlete in terms of build, but he was an athlete in terms of the mentality. I thought, because all that Chinese opera he did, you have to be an athlete, to do it. But it's kind of like I'm certainly not athletic. I'm athletic, but I'm not an athlete by no means. But there are some people, sort of professional fighters and all the rest of it, they are. And they need to be, because that, is going to serve them well in their, area of expertise.
But it is the mentality that will change all that. It's totally about the mentality, and the mentality will come with training and with experience, and depending totally on what you choose to do. If it's a genuine martial art, you'll get that mentality and you'll get that experience, because you'll get genuine experience. Whereas you could go with a martial art that punches the air on a regular basis, as most martial arts initially did.
Oh, we kind of do, to be fair.
Yeah, but we use focus pads, we use all sorts of different training modules, and at the end of the day, it's down to the individual to stick up a bag in his garden, isn't it? Or to whack each other with a stick. It's down to those individuals to take that training forward.
Whack each other with a stick?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
You mean what?
Yeah. Train.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you meant like body conditioning and stuff like that.
No, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I don't mean anything beyond. Some people will think that's important. I mean, you saw that guy with all the lumps on his knuckles, the calluses, because every day all he does is punch a piece of steel.
Yeah, what a lunatic. That was on Mind, Body and Kick-Ass Moves.
I cannot see the point in that, because it's not going to make him any faster. It's not going to make him any harder. It doesn't make any difference. It's not going to make any difference.
Yeah, I know, but I think he was just a symptom of the Chinese sort of crackdown on martial arts and the lifestyle over there, because everyone's trying to one up and get make money and appear to be magic and whatnot. So I don't think. I think the only reason that guy, ended up punching things, with big things, calluses on his knuckles, was just purely to stand out from the crowd and get people to train with him. Who's that?
That's Daniel.
All right. Okay. You are in his room again. Yeah. See, you just get the most.
The thing is, he knows him in the room, and then he comes in. He's completely forgot.
Okay. All right. But yeah, as I was saying, like that. I don't think that he was necessarily selling anything other than, just join me and you can, become, a magic figure.
One wants to punch a steel bar or a steel block or a steel plate, forever. Do you think he's going to encourage other people to do that? I mean, I don't suppose he had that many students who were doing that. And if they were they going to be any good at fighting if they spent most of the day punching a piece of metal?
Probably.
Are they going to? Because let's face it, you kick him in the groin. Do you think his knuckles are going to stop? Does he smack his wanger on a plate?
I'm sure some do. I mean, that is some special kind of kung fu. That is. But,
this is what grieves me about watching things like that, and people look at them and go, "God, he's hard."
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Good luck to him. Yeah. Hit him round the head with that plate and see what happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's just, I that kind of training, I don't condone. I mean, you can say it's great if you want. I've got no problem with that. If you enjoy smacking a plate with your fist all day or kicking your shins on a post, well, do it by all means. It's not going to make you any harm. It's going to, you're going to kick someone, you're not going to feel it. But when they kick you, what does he do?
Yeah. Yeah.
They kick you, and they kick you in that shin. well, they kick you in the knuckles. Yeah, you're not going to feel it on the knuckles. That's great. But when they kick you in the groin, or they punch you in the eye, or punch you in the throat, is it going to make any difference? All that hours of training punching that metal thing.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Go back to the basics then. So you've talked about.
Well, the basic. I think if I'm going to assimilate that, I'm going to assimilate it to a soldier firing a rifle.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, he spends all his days firing a rifle, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that's going to matter. Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to dodge the bullets, that's one thing. Okay. That's tactics. But trying to build your body up to absorb them, that's another, right?
Right, gents, today, bullet dodging 101. What is it, Pearson? Yes, sir, how do we dodge a bullet? Yeah, just like that. Honest to God.
In other words, the most important thing is to be able to shoot accurately, okay? To be able to move tactically.
This is true, okay? And what you're saying is actually... correct in terms of the outlook of the British military. Yeah. So in World War II, they had bolt action rifles because they were slower rate of fire, which means you had to aim properly. Mm-hmm. Okay, less of a magazine capacity, so every bullet you had to make count. Whereas, and this is by no disrespect to the Americans out there, because, without them, let's face it, we'd be talking German, but they kind of had, well, we would. They had all the automatic rifles, etc., and all the rest of it. And so, it to this day, sort of the British military do emphasize a high degree of marksmanship over what they would deem as sort of, suppressing over, massive suppressing fire, etc. So it's about the individual shots, and that's from a personal experience. So yeah. You're right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just I butted into you.
No, so I butted into you. I butted into you, sir.
I said I just wanted to reiterate about the difference between, you know, either punching a metal thing or actually defending yourself, and or taking the attack to the you know, to the adversary. So, and I used you know, shooting, or, you know, weaponry, or if you like, military as an example. You were just about to say something else before I started talking about, you know, firearms.
So, was I? Well, I don't know. But possibly. I was going to say, if so, can you talk about, if I'm talking about the basics now, you're going to say now, oh, it's relative to every, you know, individual out there. But if you could isolate some basic techniques that you think are kind of, you know, need to be sort of understood by beginners, or at least emphasized by beginners when they start their training, things that they should be thinking about physically now. You've talked about the mentality, which absolutely, you know, but if you could isolate sort of some techniques or physicality, or, you know.
Well, if you're going to use a punch, if you're going to use a fist, then you've got to make a square fist. So you've got to train that fist. Obviously, punching is important, but you've got to develop the power behind it. So, yes. And then, of course, a lot of people are not going to train hard enough to actually be able to use a fist, because a fist is prone to damage. If you're not using it properly and you haven't got the strength in it and you haven't trained it enough, and you try to punch someone, you're far more likely to hurt your hand than if you used an open hand. So for that reason, I would certainly train the open hands just as much, if not more, than for that reason for the fist. But of course, the more they train with the fist, the better off they'll be. Fist takes a lot longer to form. And so it's probably not as useful as a poke in the eye, as you can appreciate, and a kick in the groin. So, but if you want to talk about methods, if you talk about Kung Fu particularly, when we talk about like the first block, often people, you know, block. Someone put something on the blog, on the Laogar blog the other day. A blog spot, and it was a guy doing self-defense.
The Shaolin guy.
Yeah, speaking Chinese and doing self-defense. And if you watch the last one, there it is. Off. First block, or the second movement and the first movement of the first set. Those right. Why does it have to be put on as a Shaolin guy doing exactly the same as what Kung Fu does, what Laogar is, right? Which is, okay, someone's grabbed my hand, release, grab, push him off, or push him off before you do, push him off. You do that in your first set. Why isn't someone videoing themselves doing it and say, look guys, oh, I can do this? Why are they putting on a Shaolin monk, or whatever you want to, you know, envisaged to be, doing exactly the same thing? Come on. I mean, maybe I wanted to reiterate the fact that, oh, actually Laogar does do that. Well, why don't you say it then? This is Lao. Oh, look at this monk doing Lao. Look at this monk doing what we do. Right? Why didn't that happen? Because, you know, that I am a bit annoyed in a sense that we have a Laogar blog spot, which was put out for specifically for people to talk about martial arts and so on, and it's all about, you know, other martial arts and interests and what they see other people do, and they're very happy to stick on all these different videos from around the world, showing people who have actually been, you know, taken from their parents' breast and trained in martial arts for like a lifetime, and then left to fend for themselves because they don't make the cut.
Doesn't it in some way illustrate the mentality of the way people train and think about the training? And I don't mean that wholly detrimental, because you know, when I was coming up, I was always watching, you know, videos, reading books, reading crap bloody American inside kung fu magazines and stuff like that. And I was kind of besotted with it for a while. So, and I just wanted to celebrate kung fu as a whole entity, sort of thing. You know, oh yeah, it's great. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think I've become very cynical because I've seen a lot of crap kung fu, and not to mention a lot of crap sort of, you know, applications of Lao Ga, you know, over the years as well. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, it's kind of, I think people, I don't know whether people don't want to commit to actually putting themselves out there and saying, this is my interpretation of my style. So I'll get a video of someone doing something else, and that can be, that's it, you know. It kind of, you know, passes the buck, if you like.
You know what would be a good thing?
Go
on the blog spot, if maybe we did a video, or someone did a video, and this is kind of a challenge out there. If any of you two watching want to do this, or anyone from any style for that matter, yeah. And if we just apply this one thing and just say, okay, the first person to put the video and chooses the technique, because maybe they've been doing it in their set and they don't know what it's for. So as an example, they go, what's that? And then the next person, someone will send a video in, and they'll stick it on the YouTube, and they go, oh, well, that might be a block, right? And then the next person will say, oh, someone's grabbed you. And then someone else might say, oh, it's a release, and so on and so forth. And so what it does is it doesn't create argument. It just creates each personal proposition or a personal opinion of what it could be. And then soon people would get bored of that one technique. But the most important thing, a lot of people would have learned from it. Yeah. So why don't they do that? And then the next person says, you know, okay, well, I don't know what that's for. Okay, well, what's that? Mm. Okay. And then they put out a challenge. Well, show me what that is then. Yeah. Or in the next set, show me what that is.
That would be good.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that would
and
really
that would be a way of developing a forum, but it's a physical forum, because no one has to be good at what it is. They just have to ask the question. No one's suggesting that they're good at it. They're just saying, oh, I think it's that. I think it's for that. I think it's, you know, for that. Yeah. You know, oh, protect.
There you go.
Yeah.
And but it's like, you know, I don't want to be criticised. I don't want to be criticised.
No one's going to criticise them. They're just going to say that they don't have to say no, it's not that. Mm. They can say, I learned it as this.
Yeah.
And the person who did that can then go back and say, oh yeah, that's great. I could do this, or how about this, or how about that? And then someone, rather than anyone answer them, people just simply show their opinion.
Yeah.
You know, because then all opinions are equal, and they're contained within the forum, but they're not counterproductive. Mm-hmm. They actually produce argument.
Yeah, but that would be really good. But respectful argument.
With respect, respectfully, you know, it could be that, but and then go. Because there's no point in saying, oh, it could be that, but what if he does this? There's no point in saying.
No, that's too bullshitty. Because I could play that game, but what if he does this? What if he does this and then that? And then you know, and it's just like.
Yeah, so it isn't about that. It's about using as many as you can until people get bored. It's like a game. Using amount of techniques you can do with that technique until you get bored. And then someone later on might watch it and say, you know what, I saw that technique, I saw you doing that. And this is how I do it. So we could always come back to the same technique again. And then it brings that argument back again. And then people start learning from it because they saw the first ones and they go, oh, I thought about this, I thought about that. And you could do that till the cows come home, because you could do it with every single different technique. You know, oh, why do people do that? Or why do people go in? Why do people go out? Even in competition, oh, why do people move first? Why do people move backwards when this guy's doing this or whatever? You know, oh, I do this and I do that. You'll get all sorts of opinions, but the most important thing of all is you create a forum that feeds everybody's interest.
I totally agree with you. You know, that's for me. That's why you have these forums on Facebook, etc., and they're just not being utilised for their intended purpose.
Well, you know that we get people that send us videos that say, I heard you do this on the, you know, you blog, you whatever. What's this called again?
Podcast.
Thanks. So yeah, we get people on this podcast saying, or writing to us about the podcast, saying, you know, what, I heard you say this about this, and this is how I do it. So, what do you mean by this? And so then I send them a little video and say, well, and explain it, don't I? And usually say, okay, well, this is the reason. If you do that, then you've got to think about the technique previous to it and the technique after it, in terms of how it's, provided to you in a
if you're giving it context, in
the context of the syllabus, and so I answer that, okay, and then they appreciate that, and you know, I don't disrespect their view, and they don't respect my answer, and then they
you mean disrespect?
Or don't respect. Did I say respect?
Yeah, they said no, they don't respect your answer.
Yeah, they don't disrespect my answer. I don't respect their view or their effort, and it's brilliant because we really get on, and we do it privately because obviously a lot of the time they don't want to be, you know, they don't want people to know that they've asked that question, and they don't really need to worry about that because simply it's a question. And what people do is they value they probably feel that they are judged by their question, right?
I think so, yeah.
And this is the problem.
That's natural, though, isn't it? That's natural.
It is natural, but I think if people get over that and didn't fear being scrutinized by it or whatever, then maybe it would be a nice thing to do. But yeah, you're always going to get people, you know, like that. But I don't know. Sometimes they could just write it.
Yeah.
You know that a lot of people are anonymous.
But there's nothing better for me in my learning process of it than when you explain something to me that was in front of me, like I was staring at it but I couldn't see it, and then you say it was this, and I go, oh, of course it was. And it's a great feeling, you know, and I can understand why some people might want that to be a private thing, you know. I totally get that, whatever. But I just love that feeling of learning. And when that happens, it serves to exercise my ignorance, because as good as I might think I am, I'm not. And that is my number one sort of thing with Lao. I mean, I love Lao, like love it. But as good as I think I am, I'm not that good. So anything I do is a bonus. But, you know, but I love when you explain something to me, or you make me see a different point of view. And I'd like you said, I'd like to hear everybody's point of view when it pertains to our style, because, you know.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a stupid question. No. The stupid question is the thing you ask yourself when you're on the bus on the way out after your class. Absolutely. Well, it's too late then.
Yeah.
So, you know, people can see it as a stupid question and not ask it. But first of all, the big rule about this forum is there is no such thing as a stupid question. There can't be, because someone somewhere doesn't know it. All right. So it's good for everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know for a fact that the most primitive and the most basic techniques are misunderstood by black sashes and high degrees.
Oh, I absolutely.
I've seen it, I've watched, and I've listened to them talk about them, and they just completely miss the point.
Yeah.
And that's important sometimes. But
that's not their fault. That's not their fault.
It's not their fault. No, it's all a product of our learning, of our basics, of our you know, the initial training and or initial learning. But the thing is, a lot of people learn to a certain point, and then they start to teach, and they forget to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because they don't really think about what they actually do, but they just want to show other people, they often lose an understanding of it. Yeah. They're stuck with that one thing, which is why, again, you always see people teaching or performing the set, if you like, as if they'd just learned it in the same way. A bit more fluid, a bit more fluent, a bit more solid, but in the same way. They haven't interpreted it in any way. So the techniques are so, the same.
Yeah.
Big handwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big ABC. No double writing.
Okay.
They've never advanced.
Well, I'm going to segue into, I was thinking, I came up with 7 reasons martial artists get stuck. Okay. I'm going to run them by you, like I did last week with my wise words. I'm going to run them by you, and hopefully you comment. And so, yeah, this was just me thinking. Okay. 7 reasons martial arts get stuck. Martial artists. Okay. Number 1, they think they can outsmart the process. Now, excuse me, they think they can outsmart the learning process. So what I mean by that is, like, I believe that there is a set kind of structure, if you like, to learning a martial art. And just bear with me. So I'm going to argue, this is going to be the broad strokes, because everything can be open and expansive. But essentially, I'd argue that, say, the first thing you would do when you learn martial arts is probably you'll do some sort of body conditioning. Right? This is a preamble to it, right? So you'd maybe start doing press-ups on your fists, on your wrists, and whatnot. Okay. So I'd say body conditioning, when you first go to a class, you're not used to it. You need to build up a bit of resilience and a bit of robustness in your body to a point. Okay. Don't have to be an athlete, but you have to start using muscles and things that you don't normally do. I think secondly, when it comes to certainly Kung Fu, but I'd argue most martial arts, the second thing in the process would be forms, right? Or sets or patterns or kata. The point is you're doing foreign movements, you're learning foreign movements, and you're programming your body to move in a certain way. And all these movements are completely unnatural to you. The first move of the first set in Lao, for example, I mean, that is such a unnatural move, but you train it to the point where it becomes natural. So that's form. And I think after form, you're going to look at training application of it, whether that's through interpretation of the movements in the sets, understanding that there's 6 techniques to every 6 applications of every technique, whether you're sparring, whether you're doing whatnot. Okay, so for me, that would be, in the broad strokes, the process by which we learn martial arts. Now,
and I could make it even broader than that, because basically, as you're talking about, physical exercise is the first instance, building up your body, and then you're talking about technical exercise, the forms and so on, and then use into those forms needs to be mental exercise, which is the development of your attitude in using those techniques, because if you don't develop your attitude using those techniques, you can't use them.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 journeys, if you like, or the 3.
Well, like you said at the start, this attitude has to be intrinsic. It has to be part of it. But I think there's a lot of people out there who think they can outsmart that process because they've watched The Matrix and they've seen the guy go, I can do Kung Fu, Yeah. And guys, the bottom line is, it's training. You have to train. Now, I've had students in the past who, between classes, don't do a thing. And when they come back to the class the next week, you say, well, show me the form again. And it's like, you haven't practiced, have you? I can tell. And then they wonder why they're not improving, or, it's getting too hard, I just want to do kickboxing. It's like, okay. Well, you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of people who are skipping, who are neglecting this process of learning.
That's 90% of martial arts clubs in the end.
You think?
They go from, a lot of them stick to physical exercise because they don't know anything technical.
Yeah, they think because there's a lot of physical exercise, like medicine balls and conditioning, and they use that to sort of bolster up their lack of knowledge because...
That's right. They skip the technical exercise to a point, they skip it and go straight for the mental exercise. In other words, attitude, throw a few punches, go crazy, whatever, be aggressive, but they have no technical ability to be able to defend themselves against someone who would be able to think a good fight, who would be able to understand their adversary. Because remember, if you don't understand your adversary and you only understand yourself, you have little chance of winning. So you've got to understand what the other person is going to do or is doing by training everything, what he does, and which is why a martial art goes through such a process. You have to learn to kick because the person who's going to attack you is going to kick you. Yeah. So I went to a club once where I watched, it was in Hereford actually, I went to see this club, and it was called It had an 8-animal system.
Right.
So I don't know where they got the 8 from, but they obviously had the 5 Shaolin animals, then they added a monkey and the praying mantis and all this kind of thing. So they kind of promoted themselves as 8-animal system.
Yeah.
And the first thing the guy said, and he had a good, group, it was a beginner's class, started, he had a nice young guy that seemed to be able to move okay. And then he was an older guy, I suppose about my age, maybe older than me, I guess, at the time. And then, so he comes and stands at the front of the class and he shows them a set that looks partially Kung Fu and then very much like karate.
Yeah.
And totally made up. You could see it was made up just by watching it. I sat with the parents, just sat there watching. And then the first thing he says to them, he says, if you go to a class where they teach you to attack, then you're going to the wrong class, because self-defense, it's all about self-defense. You shouldn't be ever attack anyone.
Okay.
And I thought straight away, okay, so how are you going to learn to defend yourself if you got no one attacking you? So the logic there is just stupid.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You've got to have someone who's good at attacking you.
Yeah.
So therefore, you also have got to be good at attacking, because if you're not, no one else in the class is going to help.
Yeah.
You train, or you help anyone else. In other words,
you've told this story before.
Oh, have I?
But I wanted you to finish the story because it's such a wonderful
story. Shouldn't you talk
story
about Alzheimer's at some point in this?
Early onset.
But I think it's relative.
Yeah,
I think it's relative to the conversation. And sometimes, unfortunately, James, sometimes some stories are relative to more than one conversation.
I know, and you can tell you're not lying because they're the same stories.
There's a good point, yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Well,
I'm not lying because I can't remember telling the same story.
Oh, brilliant.
Anyway, yeah, go on then.
Anyway, okay, so that's great, brilliant. Okay, so second reason I think martial artists get stuck. Okay, their ego won't let them admit there's a problem. Okay, so we all know martial artists are egotistical. I mean, just look at us, but but I think a lot of people, I use the example of someone teaching a class, right? A teacher, a not very good one. They're so convinced and blinded by their own sort of position, if you like, that they have to assume, they have to make people believe that they can do this job and they're great and this, that, and the other. So because they really want to be known as a martial arts instructor, or they want to be known as the best fighter, this, that, and the other. So I think people's ego in martial arts, and we've seen it a lot. We just have to look at the roster of a lot of our ex-students, a lot of your ex-students, a lot of my contemporaries. But, it's full of ego. It's rife with ego because everybody wants to be the master.
If a person spends half the class demonstrating what he can do, then he spends less of the class teaching you.
Yeah, right. Those are wise words, old man. I like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do. They spend so much time demonstrating that they can do the splits, that they can do this. Why can't you? Well, you can't because you're not physically the same.
Yeah.
You can train to a certain point, but genetically, you're just not going to be able to do it. Some people can't. I've got really weird hips. I can't do certain things. But you have to make, like anyone, you have to accommodate it.
Mm.
And you can only do what you can do. You know, like you said, like big guys will only do so much. You know, they're not all gymnastic or athletic.
Mm.
And small people can only take so much energy. So they have to adapt their fighting to qualify their capabilities.
Yeah.
But that's the same with martial arts. The only way you're going to do that is by having a good teacher.
Yeah.
Mentor you.
Yeah. But it's also talking about the ego. It's not just about teachers. I just use that as an example. It's about students as well. Like you have to be a good student. I mean, how do you define that? I don't know. Maybe to close your mouth, open your ears, but then at the same time, I would always advocate asking, why are we doing that? But respectfully. But so ego is, how do we define that? I'm giving you a couple of examples.
It's not a good idea to massage a student's ego.
No, and you've never done that. It was a good idea. You've never done that with me. You've never said, well done.
My kids have always hated me for that. And a lot of students have got upset about it. The fact that I'm not prepared to say, obviously I'm going to say, oh, it was great, or that was good, whatever, but I'm not going to say, oh, you're absolute brilliant, I wish I could do that. And massage their ego, because in the end, it gets beyond them then. They are then guided by their ego. The ego becomes the most valuable thing they've got instead of the learning. And unfortunately, a lot of people stop learning when they think they know it all. Their glass is completely full.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just that you can't do anything else with them.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we know what happens when that happens.
Oh, we've seen it a few times, haven't we?
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit. Right. Yeah. Anyway, so their ego.
They go off and find another glass.
They do.
Yeah, and they steal your glass.
Ooh, calm down, Mr. Newbie. Okay.
Yeah, or your rice bowl.
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it. We, don't eat from my rice bowl. Yeah. Okay. Before we, go into the whole of cynicism, let's just finish. Okay. Number 3. The third reason why martial artists get stuck, in my opinion, they believe that grandmasters / masters and or professional fighters are gifted. Okay, there's a lot of people out there who believe there's some sort of godlike figure if you're a grandmaster. You're not. Let me explain to you why. Take Grandmaster Yao. The reason he is as accomplished as he is not because he's a god. It's because he trained. That's it. He trained hard, right? He's not gifted. He had to work for it. And if you're worth your salt as a martial artist, in whatever style you do, it's because you've worked for it. You've trained hard. You've put in the hours. Yeah? You've burnt the midnight oil. And likewise, just bear with me. And likewise, if you're a professional fighter, they're not gifted. They just trained. They did what they did, and they put in the time. That's it. They're not special human beings. Anybody can do this. Anybody. You just have to be focused and disciplined to be able to do it, and you have to be receptive to it. Yeah, there's a couple of other things you need, like a good martial art, a good teacher, and whatnot. But
this is the point I was going to make, James. Just briefly, getting that. No, it's okay. I was just going to make the comment while you were saying that just because they have certain talents doesn't mean to say you're going to get them. It's about them being able to give you your talents, being able to find your talents, find your ability, and the progression of your ability under them, so that they can make you good in whatever way you can be. Not to be a clone of them. You can't be, because you're different. Your lifespan is different. The time value, the time when they trained would be different, have different values than when you train. The laws will be different. The attitudes will be different. The social aspects will be different. So you can only do what you can do. But the most important thing is that if they're good masters or good fighters, and they want you to be a good fighter, you can only train your ability. You can't become as good or better than them without them understanding your ability. Okay. Yeah. And of course, the worst person in the world is the master or fighter coach who doesn't want you to be as good as them.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, they're not worth being with.
Well, absolutely. They've lost their position.
And they keep trying to beat. And they keep trying to tell you how good they are. And they're trying to keep something secret.
Yeah.
And that is just not a master. That is a fraud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No matter how good they are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because they're trying to tell you they can teach you, but they don't want to. Mm-hmm. Because they're scared that you will become better than them. Yeah. And that is fraud.
Absolutely. I mean, and this leads me on to number 4. Okay, the fourth reason why martial artists get stuck, and it's continuing from that. It's they're not willing to do the work required. They're not willing to do the training. Okay, because it's true.
Oh yeah. We can all be lazy too. I mean, many times I'm lazy. I can be lazy, but then other times I just go crazy. I on the summer course I used to be, they'd say do so many. We did 17,000 punches in the week over a period of time. 1 to 10 and then down again and all this sort of thing. And doing those punches, sometimes they'd stop and they'd be talking to someone or showing someone something. While they were doing that, I was crazily doing the punches. But then I'd stop. Everyone else is still doing them. I'd stop because I've already done them.
Yeah.
But then I'd do more. So, I just wanted to keep on training. I didn't want to wait for someone who's talking, so I'd just keep on doing it. But then the problem is you then see someone who sees you just stopping. They don't see you working.
No.
They just see it when you're stopping, and then they say, oh, yeah, but I can stop because he stopped, or he's not working as hard as I am, and all that kind of thing.
You can always tell the motivated students, because if you're teaching a class, you might stop it to make one point, and then you'll look around the room. Everybody else has just stood there, their arms are going down, getting lazy. And then there's one person who's there, bang, bang, and you think he's motivated, or she's motivated, or they, or whatever gender they are, is motivated.
We have video of that, James. We see that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. It's just they are not motivated as much. It's not, you can't blame everybody for not being athletically minded or crazy about that
But
art.
This is where the mentality comes in.
That's right. But remember, that mentality is not necessarily apparent all the time. It takes time to develop. For some, it takes more time than others. So you might see a very lazy early student with low grades and that, and then one day, clicks.
Yeah.
Suddenly that guy goes crazy, and he is brilliant.
I don't blame low grades. I blame the high grades. If they're stood around doing bugger all,
a high grade
their thumbs.
Yeah, a high grade should be moving all the time, and I think that's really a policy you should have in your class. That if you're talking to someone, but you're not talking to that person, they've got the capability of training and listening, right? They have But and the other thing is, of course, when you've got high grades in your class that never train, they just go around showing other people. So as soon as you partner them with someone, what do? Yeah. They start showing this guy something completely different.
Because they know better, you know. It's like,
well, because
they're so keen to teach. They don't give a shit what. It's like, well,
yeah, and you can watch in the corner of your eye, you see someone doing something, they're training, and suddenly this guy starts showing them something completely different, and you go, you know, why don't you just train the damn thing that you've been told to train?
Oh,
okay.
100%.
Otherwise, no one's going to get it. You're not going to get it, they're not going to get it. So
yeah, and it's because a lot of it is ego. A lot of it is showing off in front of people as well. Like, this is what I can do. Well, you know, I know, but but this is what I can do. So, you know, instead of doing this, you could do this.
This is how long I've been there.
Yeah.
This is how long I've trained. I've been trained for years and years. They forget, they neglect that perhaps they may have missed a few years.
Possibly.
Yes.
I've trained martial arts since I was 8 years old. It's like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, hang on, you did karate for a week when you were 8, and then you started again when you were 20. So what happened to the rest?
Yeah, we have seen in the papers the 30-year masters.
That's right.
And you know, you train for 12.
It's like, hang on. they look like they trained for 1 year, for Christ's sake. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. Yeah. So, you know, they are not willing to do the work required. Okay, that was number 4. Number 5. Okay, the 5th reason why martial artists get stuck: they go master shopping or secret seeking.
Secret Santa.
Secret Santa. Ooh. Okay, because they're convinced that someone has got the secret to my success. It's like, really? Okay. Yeah. We've seen that a lot on the Kung Fu podcast. Okay, we're always talking about masters, and you know, we mentioned earlier on today about secrets.
They find someone they like. They like the way or the kind of things that they're teaching because they haven't yet got to that stage yet with their own class.
Yeah.
Suddenly, there's a shortcut to get to it, or to understand it in a completely different way. Suddenly it doesn't exist in their old class. And now they start to disrespect the people that were brought them to that point in the first place. And remember, you know, a journey of 1,000 miles starts at your feet.
Yeah.
You know, when you put a crevice in the way, you can't make it. Simple as that.
Exactly. So, guys, don't bother going to Shaolin and learning shit. Just focus. But no. I mean, in all seriousness, like, whatever.
But don't they go to Shaolin?
Come on.
Sorry, I was going to say, don't they go to China because they like the orange uniforms?
They've got to. They are rather sexy.
They see these people doing all these flexible things, and and they're so good, and they think, if I go with them because they're so good, maybe it'll rub off on me. Sorry, it won't, because you would have had to be brought up at 5 years old and sent to a college of training of athletics, of wushu, and training in exactly the same way every single day.
Yeah.
You would have had to do that. You would have had to get up and live on rice. But no, you didn't. You went to your job. You went to your, like, you know, graphic designer job for the last 10 years, and you didn't do that training and live on rice. So you're not going to be the same. You're gonna get a couple of techniques and come out and say, I trained at the Shaolin Temple. It's not going to make you a bloody monk. So get real.
Do you think they just bring out the rice for the tourists because it's cheap to feed them?
Well, I know that they pay a certain amount, a few £1,000s, to go and stay at these colleges or stay at these complexes and train the martial arts with these people, right? The amount of money they pay to do that, and of course the number of people that do it, that's a lot of money. And then they just get fed real basic food. So I'll tell you what, they make a big profit. And considering it's a communist country, that is a lot of money. You know, when it's turned into US dollars, that is a lot of money.
Oh, hell yeah.
Or US dollars turned into yuan, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money from those tourists. and they just see it, and they come back, with their flimsy sword and their, orange uniform, and they walk through the airport like that because they think they're a bloody monk now, and they can do the splits because they've been trained so much to a degree, and they still can't fight.
Wow.
So
that's it. Okay. So secret seeking, master shopping, whatnot. Yeah.
I think the answer to that is get a life.
Absolutely.
Get real.
Okay. Number 6. Okay. 6th reason martial artists get stuck. They are reluctant to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, just ask her. Every person who has ever contacted us for, let's face it, an opinion, these are the people who, in my opinion, are going to be fine martial artists because they recognize, what they've got. They've got a forum where they can ask questions. They're seeking a bit of knowledge, a bit of advice, but they're not afraid to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. These are the people who we're appealing to. We really are. We want to ask you as much. Okay.
Yeah, because the thing is, they can also be rest assured. Of course, they're not paying for any. We're not paying. We don't make anything from this. Yeah. This is just a love. We do this for the love of it.
Yeah.
And no one gains anything. They gain information. We gain, the opportunity to help people, to promote our style. And people less fortunate than I am, less old. Are we going back online now?
Yeah,
are we?
We're back online. Back online. Technical difficulty avoided. Technical difficulty, everybody. But you forgot to plug it in.
No, it's plugged in.
Did you switch the socket on? Did you switch the socket on?
There's no switch on a Canadian thing. It's just like, there it is. Plug it in. It's on. Oh. That's it. There's no switch like in an English one.
Oh, okay.
You just basically plug it in and make it work, and that's it.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anywho, let's press on.
Did we answer that? I forgot.
Yeah, we were talking about they're reluctant to ask for help.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What was the example? I was talking about people contacting us, and they're the kind of people, who are really going to be the good ones in the future, I think, personally.
People are not afraid to ask questions and not afraid for opinions and not afraid to sort of, they're not afraid that their opinion will be different to anyone else's or less than anyone else's, that they'll be criticized or whatever. The thing is, they're never criticized. Okay. There's no point in criticizing people. You're just giving a reason why it may not be a good idea to do what they're doing, but then it's up to them to, take it or leave it. It's just, you're giving an opinion. You're not criticizing them. You're giving them an opinion, your opinion, and they value that opinion. And if they don't like that opinion, they don't have to take it.
Yeah,
it's just up to them. But it's good if they take the opinion, but it's also good if they don't and they give us a counter argument. Because that is what we really want, is a counter argument.
Yeah, not funny emojis. Okay, give us a counter argument.
I don't know what that emoji was for, to be honest with you.
I don't know either. But this is it.
Like, then I'll friend him. If he sends me a message and say, I put that emoji because you said this and I don't believe you meant it, or you said this.
Then say that.
It counters. Yeah, just say it.
Just say it.
And then I'll explain why.
Anyway.
Because he's not a bad guy. I think he's got his own opinion, which is absolutely fine. And
I know some things.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. The 6th. Oh, that was the 6th. The last reason. Okay, I think martial artists get stuck. Is this number 7? they are deficient in one or more of the 3 elements of level of participation. That's either time, money, or understanding. If you're lacking in any one of those 3, you're going to struggle. If you've got the time but not the money or the understanding, you're obviously going to struggle. If you've got the time and money but not the understanding, you're going to struggle. You get where I'm going here. So, you know, the point is,
I guess the money means not buying lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm talking about that. Well, everyone's got to eat, right? Like, you know, I'm not being funny, you know. But, you know, if you've got the understanding but not the time or the money, you know, I'm afraid, you know, you're going to struggle to proliferate. But
we're doing all this for nothing. Money doesn't come into it, so I want to know where all that money is.
But, yeah.
Are you going to pay me, James? Are you going to give me any money?
Are you kidding? I'm the one who's paid flipping Podbean for this. Honest to God. Open my wallet, a moth flies out. But
is that the time?
Check, please. Oh, he's off. No, but the point is, if you're gonna, you know, so you got time, money, and understanding. Okay, if you know, like I said, if you're struggling one of those, you're going to struggle. But at the same time, guys, we do the best we can do. All right. If if you've only got sort of 10 minutes free a day to practice, by God, use it. Just 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes than you would otherwise do. So, you know, we can't all be, you know, have our own gyms and have all the time in the world to practice and whatnot. You know.
Well, I start work at 9 o'clock at the moment. It's going to be later after a while, but I get up at 6:30, and I got my running machine now. I went out and got it because this bloody stomach has crept up on me during the COVID.
I don't know what you mean. You're looking trim. You're looking trim. But
I don't know where it's come from, James. You know,
I do. Is what Timothy Horton, sir. It's got to be. But the point is, you know, that was the point I was making, guys. You know, so you do what you can do. You train what you can train. If you can't afford it, you can't. You can always work something out with your instructor, whatnot.
To practice, okay?
But it doesn't cost anything to practice. And so, I know for a fact that as a teacher myself, and as you've always maintained, you get in contact with me, you know, we'll talk about your training, we'll give you some ideas, whatnot. So don't ever feel, and this is to anybody out there doing Laogar, you know, if you're struggling, you know, by all means, you get in contact, and we will do our best to help you.
Well, if 100%. They got me on Facebook, they can always just press the hello button. Bear in mind, I'm 8 hours difference. So.
Yeah, there you go.
And don't call me from a country that's like beyond that, because I'm going to be asleep.
Absolutely. But yeah, guys, so that was the 7 reasons I think martial artists get stuck. So anyway, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up there. What do you reckon?
I think that's those reasons are decent, and I think it.
Well, what would you add? What would you add any more to that?
No, I think I've provided my philosophy, if you like, about people, and I think people there are a lot of people who just want to buy it and stick it in a plastic bag and take it home with them. You know, the people who go to gyms and all they do is they flash their card at the cafe, because they don't actually use the gym, but they kind of get their wallet out and the card falls out and says, oh yes, I'm a member of this gym or this golf club, you know, and they just want to be a member, but they don't want to train. They don't want to become skillful in whatever sport it is. They just want to be seen to do it. So people often say, you know, oh, do martial arts. Oh, I did it. I mean, how many people, you know, you say, yeah, I teach Kung Fu or whatever, or you're talking about Kung Fu and they go, oh yeah, I did some karate when I was like 10. Yeah, I got pretty good. I got up to this grade or whatever. What the bloody matter does it make? It doesn't mean anything. You've forgotten it all now. It's gone.
Yeah.
You know, you retain 60% of it if you train hard enough, if you keep on training. But you've got to remember it. I've got to keep on remembering it, and I will get that bloody butterfly knife thing to you. Shut up.
Really?
Oh, Bill!
Great. I'll look like ZZ Top by the time it happens.
What do you mean you'll look like ZZ Top? Do you want to tell the audience about your 700cc motorbike passing your test and everything?
Oh,
do you want to stick your gear on?
Oh, I won't bore them with it. But the other day I was on an undisclosed private racetrack, which will remain nameless. I look down, I'm doing 105 mile an hour, and I'm in third gear. And I got 6 gears. I said, oh, bloody hell, I better stop. It's great. I love it. Badass biker. Yeah. No, it's great. Fantastic fun. Really good fun. I wish I'd done it a long time ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's a great sort of camaraderie as well. The biker community as well. They're everyone nods to you. You know. So,
you know what I'm buying, James?
What? A
speedboat. No.
Jet ski.
No.
No. What?
I'm buying a scooter.
Oh, hang on. A scooter or a push scooter?
Well, it's a push scooter, but it's an electric one.
Oh well, that's up the street cred of it, then, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a stand-on platform.
So let me
with the handles.
Right. Let me just get this in my head. You've bought a running machine.
Yeah.
So that when you're at home, you can run. But when you have to walk, you're going to take the scooter.
Yeah.
Okay. Things are a bit weird in the newbie household.
No, well, it's great fun to go out there in these scooter.
In the scooter.
Great fun. I watch people go past all the time on these scooters, and I just want a scooter.
Well, be careful on it, because one of my students was in Spain and he was doing about 20 kilometers an hour on one of those scooters on a marble pavement and slipped off and did some damage.
It's no good idea to do it on marble. I won't find a marble pavement around here.
I mean, well, that's it. But to be fair, he was slaloming on marble, but I've discussed this with him. So, anyway,
not a good idea.
Right then, guys, really hope you've enjoyed the show. And do you know what? I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody who subscribed to us on YouTube. It really means a lot, and we really appreciate all the likes and the subscribes and all that.
We do.
Guys,
and we need more messages.
Send us some messages. Send us some complaints or questions, whichever. Yeah. But we do really appreciate it. And if you subscribe to us on Podbean or YouTube or Facebook, whatever, we really do like that. So thanks a lot, guys. It remains for me to say goodbye from me, James Still, and it's goodbye from my teacher, Mr. Steve Newby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That.
No, we haven't really got this. We haven't really got this goodbye thing yet. You can't wave because it's a podcast. Okay, you can't just make a noise, right? You've got to just say goodbye.
Okay, goodbye, you all, and have a nice rest of your day. Yeah.
And it's goodbye from me. Take care, guys. See you soon. Train hard. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Concentrate on your enemy's weak points. The eyes, the throat, the knackers.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So until next time, take care of yourselves and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Karate punch is like an iron bar, whack. A Kung Fu punch is like an iron chain with an iron ball attached to the end and it go whang.
Can you break a log like that?
Don't know. Never been attacked by a tree.
was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was great. You're not going to show my belly, are you? It'll only disrespect you.
No, I won't. I mean, I will. You know, I just can't bring myself to do that. That's too much. That's pornographic. That really was. I think there was like a little butt crack in it, you know, as well.
That was my belly button.
Was it?
An outie.
An outie.
It used to be an innie, but now there's no room. They put it on the outside.
Oh.
They had to refit it like Dunlop. Dunlop refitted it.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that was all right. Well, anyway, right, I'm going to stop that.
To a degree, but it might use more.
No, it won't use more. If it's running off the mains, it's not going to use more. 100%.
Okay, let me just close the door again then.
Yeah, no worries. Bloody hell. Have you shrink washed your t-shirt or something?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
You have to edit that bit.
I'll put a censored bit on that.
Yeah, put a censor on it. Yeah.
Ooh.
See, look.
Yeah.
It's all connected like that, and it's an English one.
Yeah.
And then
it's
you
so
have to put that to that, and then that goes in there, and that goes in there.
It's so complicated. you got two things. You got two things. Anyway, where were we?
The thing. So instead of just putting one podcast down, 31 or whatever it's going to be,
right.
Put down 31, part 1, part 2, part 3, so like that.
Right.
And then people can click on one. They'll definitely listen to the end of it then.
Right.
And then if they want to listen any more, they'll put on part 2.
So you know, like in the old days when you had an LP and you put the needle on the LP.
Yeah.
Then someone knocked on the door. You thought, I'll just pause my LP. So you lift up the needle, you put it on the hanger, you go to the thing. And when you come back to put the needle back on the LP, it's in the wrong place. Do you know that?
Yes. Yes.
So they have this thing on podcasts and apps called a pause button, and you pause it at the exact same place, right? And then when you come to join it later on, it's there. It's right there. So you want to split up the podcast?
No, I don't. Well, it was just a thought, right? Now, as you can see, I didn't know there was a pause button that you could come back to.
Yeah. There's a pause button.
I thought when you
just have to listen to it.
You went off something, it just went off your computer completely.
No.
Can we make it funny? Can we make it like, bring up some spoof adverts? Could we sing? Do you know what I mean?
We can sing, baby. Oh
yeah, we could bring things. We could bring things into it that would just, split it. We could even have like a little bit of, like Monty Python used to suddenly split and then just have a little cartoon.
Listen, I'm not doing cartoons with feet coming from the ceiling.
No, I know that, but it's the concept, not the bloody same thing. Yeah, the big boot coming down on us. Picture of us with a big boot coming down on us.
Yeah, that sums up the podcast.